Hey everybody, I'm Brian Bell. This is BellTube. So last week did a video talking about books to avoid if you're going through depression or if you're feeling quite a bit sad. I'd asked in that video if you guys who were watching would leave a comment if you wanted me to do the reverse kind of a video where we talk about books that lift you up, where we talk about books that might be a good resource or a good go-to for some fun if you're feeling down. So that's what this video is about. Today I've got 7. Actually, it's 9. There's a couple of bonus books in there, but I've got 7 fantasy books that I think are great for lifting you out of a kind of a bad mood, a dull mood, a depression mood, whatever it may be. So sit back, grab a beverage. We're going to have some fun today. Let's go on an adventure. So this is going to be a lot of fun for me to do today because all of these books for me are feel-good kind of books. There's a mix of traditionally published, there's a mix of indie books. I got everything in here. So the first one we're going to talk about is written by author J.C.M. Byrne, and this is called Wistful Ascending. This is sort of sci-fantasy. It's superheroes in space. This is book 1 of the Hybrid Helix series. And all you need to know about this is we're dealing with, like I said, a superhero in space who has regular life problems like you and I do, but in a very different location than any of us will ever be in. As a matter of fact, I'm actually currently reading book 5, Eyes of Empire, and you know I'm telling the truth because my bookmark is in there. I'm currently reading book 5. It's excellent. Now, I have to say, I know J.C.M. Byrne. He's hilarious, so this book is injected full of humor, but he doesn't shy away from themes that are meaningful. He just presents them in a way that by the time the book is over, we're feeling pretty good about things. Wistful Ascending. If you've not read this, look at the cover. Look how cool that cover is. You got to pick this up. By the way, all the books, especially the indie ones, are going to be listed in the description below because some of these books you've never heard of, right? Or if you have, it's maybe only been here on BellTube. Some of these books are common knowledge and everybody and, you know, the entire world knows what they are. Those I'll probably leave out of the links because you probably own them already and maybe we'll do a reread. All right, let's talk about the second book. I'm not grabbing it because I don't have it on physical. This is Sir Terry Pratchett's Guards in the Discworld series. I'm going to put a graphic right over here. This is book 1 in the City Watch arc of Discworld. If you're unfamiliar with Discworld, it's absurdist humor. It is satire with the most pointed wit I've ever read in any fantasy period. I miss Terry Pratchett's writing so much that, you know, he's passed on. However, I've got, I don't know, 35 more Discworld books in front of me that I haven't read yet. So Guards really has a motley crew cast. So if you like a motley crew, you're going to like Guards. And it really, the best way that I can say this without spoiling anything, it turns tropes completely on their heads in a hilarious way. There are very few books that I find myself actually laughing out loud reading. Guards and its follow-up book, Men at Arms, did that in spades. It's just so good. So if you've not read Discworld yet, don't do what I did. Don't do starting with The Color of Magic because I am famously not a DNFer. And I want to say I DNF'd The Color of Magic 2 times. That's right. It's the 2-time champion of DNF here on BellTube. Start with Guards. If you've already started Discworld and you haven't yet made it to the City Watch arc, you are in for a great time. So that's the second book on the list today. Before we get to the rest of it, if you like these kind of curated lists, if you like somebody who's read a bunch of books and might be able to save you a little bit of time, give you some value in your life, think about subscribing to the channel. And of course, if you want to help the channel even more than that, hit that thumbs up icon. That's the like button. The more people that do that, the more YouTube thinks that this is worth showing to brand new people. All right, I was about to pick up this book before. This is gonna be our 3rd book here on the list. Let me grab a glass of water here. Hang on. This is how you know I'm not editing much today, because you guys don't like it when I edit. You like just kind of this raw conversation. I'm here for it. Makes life easier for me. The third book, John A. Douglas. I'm going to surprise you with this one. He's my friend. He wrote this book, but I wouldn't show it on the channel if it wasn't great. This is The Black Crown by author John A. Douglas. Now, this we talked about at the beginning. Let's go on an adventure together. That's what this is. This is a Dungeons and Dragons style of an adventure. And our main character here is a half-orc adolescent, and he is going on the hero's journey every bit of the way. He's finding himself. He's got an incredible party of companions. They each have very distinctive personalities, and we talked about it a little bit earlier about tropes being thrown on their heads. That's exactly what John Douglas does here. I can't wait for book 2 to come out, by the way. I know he's in the middle of writing it right now, but don't wait. It's a nice, thick book. You can spend some time in it, but I will tell you it does read really fast. So don't let the length of it intimidate you. You're going to have a great time meeting Rags, who is our main character. You're going to have a lot of fun with his companions, and I think you're going to find this sense of adventure that you might not have had in a while if you're not like a regular Dungeons and Dragons player, or as the kids say, D&D, I suppose. All right. That's The Black Crown. Let's talk about one that you probably all know. And the reason why I'm bringing this one up is because it affected me personally, right? And I mentioned in the last video, I'm not going to get into it a whole ton, but my mom passed 6 months ago, and it is easily the hardest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. And it got to the point that, well, obviously I couldn't read. I couldn't sit and do anything or focus for quite some time. But the first book that I picked up, just sort of on a hunch that if there was something out there that might sort of take me away, take me on a lighthearted adventure, it might be Brandon Sanderson, and it might be Tress of the Emerald Sea, and that's exactly what it was for me. So my recommendation for Tress of the Emerald Sea is mostly out of personal experience. It's a relatively lighthearted story. There's characters to love. It is somewhat formulaic, as you get through the book, but it is a pretty short book. It won't take you a ton of time. As usual lately, Sanderson's writing is really accessible. And I know sometimes we use the word accessible as kind of a synonym for easy to read, or maybe not exactly the most complicated stuff or the most technically adept language. This is pretty simple reading, but like I said, I can only tell you what it did for me, and for me personally was it gave me several hours of uplift from the decimation that I had losing my mom, and honestly that I'm still having. But that book is meaningful to me for that, and I will always remember that. Let's move on to the next book. Now, the next book, again, I don't have it on physical. I actually listened to it on audio because it was narrated by the actual author himself. This guy is a world-class voice actor. His name is Travis Baldree, and if you've been around BookTube for more than probably a year or two, you have heard of BookTube's famous Fantasy Cozy. Let's try that again. Take 2. It is gonna be the cozy fantasy darling of BookTube, and of course I'm talking about Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Yeah, low stakes. That's the whole thing about Legends and Lattes. If you can sum up that world in 2 words, that's what it is. Low stakes. You've got an orc barbarian who is tired of being a warrior, and she decides she wants to settle down and open up a coffee shop with snacks and baked goods. Doesn't get too much more low stakes than that, right? Whether she can keep her store going or not. Now, in fairness, I've lived that life, right? I had a nightclub for 15 years. I know how difficult that is to do. But when we're talking about world-ending events, or trying to get the One Ring into Mount Doom through all of the lands of Mordor and Smeagol and Gollum and all of that stuff, by comparison, keeping a baked goods, coffee shop open, pretty low stakes. I had a lot of fun with that book, and from what I understand, for those of you that are not into audiobooks, it reads really well too. So I haven't had that experience, but if you are an audio listener, check out the Audible book. It's quite good. Now, this next one I would have never thought in a billion years would make any list that I ever do here. Why? Because I like to read complicated stuff. I like to read Malaz, and I like to read The Wars of Light and Shadow, Book of the New Sun, some of my favorite fantasy out there. And if you were to tell me that this middle grade fantasy book written by Dewey Conway and Bill Adams called, this is a tongue twister, but I'm going to get it right, The Tenacious Tale of Tana the Tender Sword. See, guys, I got it right. This book rocks. This is so much fun. This was an SBFBO book. I happen to be the initial sub-judge that decided to put it through to Dr. Philip Chase, who was really my judging boss. There you go, Philip. You got a shout out, and you're also my judging boss. Do I want Philip as my judging boss, you guys? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I pass it along to him. He's got another, 4, 5, 6 other sub-judges that also passed him books. This was the one that he chose. He agreed with me that a middle grade book can set out and accomplish anything that a very complicated book can do theme-wise. And the themes of this book are overcoming adversity, finding out what really makes us us. And it does so in the most lighthearted, fun way possible. We've got 2 main characters. Our main narrator is kind of a curmudgeon, and he's a grumpy chronicler, and his job is basically, he's in training, chronicling the tales of a would-be champion. And of course, our would-be champion's name is Tana the Tender Sword. Tender Sword is a title. She's only a Tender Sword because she's really new as an adventurer. Love this book. Highly recommend this book. It's got fantastic illustrations by Dewey himself in this one. Check it out. It'll be in the description. Next book on the list. I saved this one for last. Then we're going to do a couple of bonus books after that. And then I got a one for the road for you. Actually, I almost have 2, maybe 3 one for the roads for you. Hopefully this doesn't go too long. Now, this is the most obvious one of all. And I can't think of a series that in my life, and I'm older than most of you guys, but I can't think of a series that had such a global impact on fantasy literature in my life, or maybe in, period, than Harry Potter. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I happen to be holding up The Prisoner of Azkaban because it happens to be, I think, my favorite book of the series. Also, it was closer than going to grab the Sorcerer's Stone over there. I grabbed this one, but any of them would be great. I actually think if you're looking for a sense of wonder, if you're looking to take yourself out of the problems that you're going through right now, book 1 might be the place to go. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. An 8-year-old boy finds out he's really a wizard. Come on, it doesn't get any cooler than that. And wait, it does. He gets to go to a wizarding school, and he gets to take all these cool classes, and he gets to make a bunch of new friends. And I know all of you have read Harry Potter by now. If you haven't, drop whatever book you're reading. Go read Harry Potter. Besides that, it's a killer reread. I don't do a whole lot of rereads. My brother-in-law reads pretty voraciously as well. I think he's on his 10th rereading or something like that of Harry Potter, just for the feelings that it brings out. We know the story. We know it's good and evil. We know all the tropes. We get it. We've all seen the movies. But I'm telling you, if you're kind of feeling down and you want to reach for a book you probably already have, consider Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Or as they say across the pond, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Maybe that was for Jared. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Let's talk about a couple of bonus books here, and then we're going to do the one for the road. Bonus book. This is a book I had a blast with. This is a book that takes us on an adventure, and we go along with one of my favorite adventuring parties of all time. Here's the rub with this book. That's why it's not on the list. That's why it's a bonus book. It's Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, and the reason why it's a bonus book is because a ton of the Easter eggs in here, a ton of the references in here are very pop culture based of a certain age. Now, this book really is kind of like a 1970s rock show gone wrong, all right? With all the rock stars out there trying to find themselves and going on an adventure. And if you are very familiar with classic rock and roll and the band names and the song names and what else would there be? I guess the individual artist names that are in, the classics 1970s rock and roll, there is going to be so much you find in this book that somebody who doesn't know any of that stuff is going to find. So if you're of an age, maybe you're a Gen X or maybe you're the one after that. I stopped counting after Gen X, but if you know 70s rock, I don't care if you're 19 years old or 18 years old, whatever, you're going to find extra stuff in here. The band, you know, is the name of the series, I believe. Yeah, it's the band. Even like on the title where it says The Boys Are Back in Town, right? It's a Thin Lizzy song. If you don't know classic rock, you don't know what Thin Lizzy is. If you do, you do. Kings of the Wild, the second book is called Bloody Rose. That's an 80s kind of themed adventure story. Again, it's a lot of fun. Now, this last bonus book, I'm putting up here as a guess because I honestly don't remember it. I read this book so long ago. I was in high school, but I do remember having a sense of fun, a sense of wonder, a sense of anything is possible. And I think those are the types of feelings we're going for when we're feeling down. Just some hope and some optimism. And for me, T.H. White's The Once and Future King gave me those feelings. The only thing I remember about this is that this is an Arthur and Merlin story. Beyond that, I don't remember. Some of you guys in the comments, comment below if I'm right or if I'm wrong on this one, because I don't know. But when I was putting this list together, I thought, I think The Once and Future King, when I was a kid, was really helpful. I wanted it included on this list. Let's do a quick one for the road today, and then I'll let you out of here. There's actually a couple of things. Number one, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling whatever, kind of in that dark cloud space, you've heard it before, but I'm going to share it with you again. Do your best to limit your time on social media. It is a cesspool of just junk, and this has nothing to do with politics, but I will say that when you get into social media, it doesn't matter which platform, you're going to find a lot of people arguing. Some of them are friends of yours. That's no fun. Nobody would want to be in the room with two really good friends of theirs arguing over stuff, right? It's an uncomfortable feeling. Social media also tends to present the highlights of people's lives rather than the lowlights. And if you are going through a personal lowlight in your time, it's a little bit hard sometimes, even if you legitimately are happy for your friends and family that are doing great and showing you the slide reels of their life's highlights. It's sometimes a little bit hard to watch because you ask yourself, you know, I'm happy for them, but why not me? And it's just something to kind of bear in mind. So I would take a time out on social media until you are more of yourself, and then you go back and you see whatever it is. But honestly, I don't think you're missing a ton by taking a little bit of time off of social media. The other thing I want to talk about with one for the road is that a lot of us are less good at taking our own advice than we are at listening to other people. And a lot of us, when a friend comes to us with a problem or a situation or just whatever it may be, we tend to give better advice sometimes than we would ever take ourselves. And I guess my thought on this is, if we can experiment to try to talk to ourselves in the same manner that we would talk to a dear friend or a family member going through the same situation that we are, we might actually find some use out of it because we get out of our own heads a little bit and our cycle of this is happening to me and this is happening to me. But talk to yourself as if you were trying to help you. And I think you might find you get a little bit more objective about what you're talking about. You can certainly empathize, right? Because you can empathize with yourself, but it just seems like a different voice telling you what you already know. But when you're in the midst of it, it's hard to hear that inner voice sometimes. So how do you do that? You can journal it. You can say, hey, I'm feeling really down right now. If I was a really good friend of mine, or if I was somebody who knew me really well, what advice would I give myself in this period? And write it down and read it back to yourself. And I think you'll be just shocked that you actually have better advice for yourself than you think. But until you actually go through the exercise of doing it, it's really, really hard to know. I'd love to know in the comments below, of course, because you guys end up curating lists for me all the time. What are your go-tos when you're feeling kind of down, when you're feeling depressed, when you're just kind of mid-level sad? What books do you recommend? It could be fantasy, it could be sci-fi, it could be literary fiction, it could be nonfiction. I don't really care. Throw it in the comments down there and let's help some other people, right? Because I just gave you 7 books plus 2 bonus books. But there's going to be a lot of people that watch this video, and if everybody can contribute something in the comments that help them out or that might help other people out, we're going to have hundreds of books to pick from when we're not feeling 100% ourselves. That's what I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the spirit of the video because it was made in the most fun spirit I could possibly do today. Stay positive, everybody. And of course, here's your fortune.